Thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation. I'm really feel very humbled among all the different amazing panels speakers over here. So yeah, if just now I think Mengi talked about labels, specific like the logos and stuff. My presentation is more related to the product naming of the different alternative proteins, not specific on the labels, but more on the product naming component. Yeah, so like what Prof. Chang mentioned, I'm trained from the Wikimwi School of Communication and Information, and I'm currently working at the School of Medicine, actually. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So why does product naming, or specifically the product naming, or the labeling part, the product naming of the alternative proteins matter? So there have been debates around the world actually about the naming of the different types of alternative proteins. For example, for the plant-based meat, there have been debates in the US, in Europe, probably not so much in Singapore, but because we don't really have like a lot of like farming companies or farm or animal farms, but also in Australia. So there are countries around us who have also have debates around the use of the meat terms. And also for the context of cultivated meat, there have been debates around whether you should call it cultivated meat or cultured meat or cell-based meat and so on. So let's dive deeper. Okay, so this is mostly based for the plant-based meat. This is mostly based for my doctoral dissertation. So why? So should meat terms be permitted? So meat terms such as, for example, the terms burger, chicken, beef, nuggets, because they are traditionally associated with meat, but plant-based meat products are usually not do not contain any meat at all. So is it misleading or is it creating misperceptions? So the meat industry representatives claim that these meat terms should be banned because they could mislead consumers into thinking that the products contain meat or nutritional qualities that are similar to meat, which may not be true. So they actually propose to replace the meat terms with totally novel terms. For example, instead of burger, you should call it disc, or instead of sausage, you should call it tubes. But of course, the plant-based food industries retaliated. They say that, oh, these meat terms are important, are useful to actually communicate and inform consumers that, oh, these plant-based meat products, how they should taste or how they should be cooked. So among all these debates, I try to examine the different effects of the meat labels. So I propose that the meat labels, they should not be treated as a one whole lump sum category. So instead, they should be deconstructed into two categories. First is the product format descriptor, which describes the shape of the product. So let's say like burger usually is referring to a product that is round in shape. And the animal meat term is describing the animal meat that it tries to mimic. So it tastes like chicken or beef or pork. And there's a third component from the plant-based meat alternative product naming, which is the qualifier. So this is actually the part that discloses to consumers that this product is actually not of animal origin. So I argue that there are actually a lot of different qualifiers used in the plant-based meat alternative, although mostly is using plant-based, correct, yeah. So I argue that they could actually be classified into two types of framing categories. One is the plant presence, which is no, the presence frame, which is emphasizing the presence of certain ingredients. In this case, is the presence of plants, and the absence frame, so emphasizing the absence of certain ingredients, which is in this case, the absence of meat. So terms like meatless, chicken-free, and so on. So what's the issue of this particular component of the plant-based meat alternative? So I think some of these are mentioned earlier. Uh, there are certain concerns that the term plants, the plant present qualifier, could actually evoke perceptions among consumers that the products are healthy or environmentally friendly or sustainable. So I start with these questions and I try to find out whether this is the case. So basically, the whole objective of the studies are to find out whether the different variations of the plant-based meat alternative product name components have any impact on the perceptions on the hedonic, hedonic being like the meat, the perceived meat content, the perceived taste, the sensorial qualities, and also perceived healthiness. I included like a number of things like, for example, food safety or protein or fiber, and also the perceived sustainability, which is like environmental friendliness and animal welfare. So to achieve that objective, I actually conducted a series of studies so to examine both the food industry stakeholders as well as the consumers. So for the first part, I actually interviewed experts from different backgrounds, from the nutrition background, the plant-based, from the alternative protein marketing people, and the alternative protein advocacy group, and also from the research background, food research background. So the purpose of the first study is to identify the beliefs, the perspectives from these food industry experts about what they think about the different components of the naming in the plant-based meat alternatives. So after that, I actually did a second study, which is the survey. So the purpose is to find out whether the beliefs identified in study one is prevalent across a larger sample of the food industry stakeholders. So I did an in-person survey. I don't know whether you guys went to this food exhibition in 2022 at the Expo. So this particular food exhibition actually had quite a large section of alternative protein with a lot of food tasting. It was actually quite fun to taste all the different food and the different formats. And after that, I did a consumer experiment with grocery shoppers to test out specific. So they are given like certain different packaging with different names to test out their perceptions in terms of like the hedonic, the healthiness, and the sustainability. Yeah, and also their behavioral intention. Okay, so just because of the limitation of time, the key takeaways out of the whole three studies, actually there are certain consistencies from all the three studies in a way that they agree that the meat labels, the meat terms, should not be treated as one lump sum. So it should not be like whole banned or permitted as a whole lump sum like that. Instead, they should be differentiated into meat-related product format descriptors, so terms like nuggets, burgers, sausages. They are in general, unanimously agreed that they should be accepted, that they are not like misleading because they are just informing the consumers about the shape. And from the consumer experiment, I found that this product format descriptor also influence sensorial perception, as in enhancing the perception that is sensorially similar to meat, and also health quality perception in terms of enhancing food safety perception. Whereas for the animal meat terms, or terms like chicken, beef, pork, and so on, it's better to be restricted because among the food industry stakeholders themselves, there are like mixed perspectives of whether they should be permitted or not. Of course, as expected, those from the alternative protein advocacy group, the experts, they tend to agree to approve the use of these terms. But those from the nutrition background, I think that probably they tend to disapprove of the use of these terms. And from the consumer experiments, I found that also the use of the presence of animal meat term as compared to the absence is more likely to make consumers to think that the products contain meat. Yeah. So it could be misleading in that sense because it is not true most of the time. Whereas for the qualifier itself, those framed in the plant presence or the use of the term plant-based is more accepted by almost everybody. And also the positive side that is also creating healthiness perceptions in terms of food safety and also fiber content, which may be good from the consumer acceptance perspective, but I think we should also be wary that the consumers do not think that the products are healthier than they really are. Which is the health halo effect. Whereas for sustainability perception, one of my earlier hypotheses is that the plant labels could also improve sustainability perceptions. Any guess whether it's significant or it's not? Yeah, it's not significant. So if consumer education, if student education didn't manage to change food behavior, such labels also may not be able to change like behavioral intention. But I'm also not sure whether it's a case of there is already a halo effect, a sustainability halo effect for the whole product category itself. So regardless of the labels, it could be that when they see plant-based meat alternatives, they just think that it's more environmentally friendly. It could be that case also, yeah. Okay, so that's for the plant-based meat alternatives. So I just share a bit about some of the literature that I have read about the other types of alternative proteins. So the first one is about the cultured meat. So this Bryant and Barnett study is among one of the earlier studies which examine the different nomenclature of cultured meat. So they examine 4 different types of naming, and the term lab-grown meat basically evoke the most negative association. They are perceived to be like artificial, unnatural, and also stimulating disgust. And then for animal-free meat, it's most associated with veganism, and cultured meat is related to science, and clean meat evoke the most positive association in terms of healthiness, tastiness, naturalness, and cleanness. And the more recent study, there are I think about a couple more other studies, but I just present here the one that is the more recent one. This study examined 5 different types of names: the cell-based, cell-cultured, cell-cultivated, cultured, or cultivated. And I find this quite interesting because now they're including the term cultivated meat, which has been proposed by some alternative protein advocacy group to be widely used in the industry. But so interestingly, cultivated meat is, this paper actually concluded that cultivated meat, the term can be most likely to mislead consumer in terms of the consumers are not able to differentiate the products, the cultivated meat products from conventional meat or seafood products. And this criteria, I find this very interesting because I think this is one of the criteria for the regulation of product naming of cultivated meat, that you should not mislead consumer. You should be able to inform consumers that this product is actually not a conventional meat product. Instead, this paper actually recommended the cell-cultured meat because it can communicate to consumers that the products are different from conventional products. And in terms of acceptance levels of the consumers, it has similar level to the control products. The control products being that basically they are presenting the food without any label at all, which is basically the conventional products, yeah. And for insect-based protein, okay, I don't know how many of you have tried insect-based, just out of curiosity. Okay, all right. So, so the effects of incorporating the insect label, informing consumer that these products is like, yeah, insect protein versus not, as expected, those people exposed to the insect label were less likely to be willing to try. They were also more likely to consume the food in smaller quantities and less frequently. And but there's mixed evidence on the taste evaluation, which is one study mentioned that it evoked a more negative taste evaluation, while the other study found no significant difference. So I think there's still a lot of challenges going on with insect-based protein, although I thought it's quite promising in terms of the environmental effect. So yeah, that's basically the end of my presentation. I think from out of the different alternative proteins product naming, we can safely conclude that there could be different associations evoked by the different naming. Yeah. So thank you very much.